The blood came first. Annabelle Hartley pressed her hand against the knife wound in her side vision, blurring as the little girl screamed her name. Not Miss. Not Ma'am. Mama. Behind them, the man with dead eyes raised his blade again. She'd come to Montana as the wrong bride to the wrong ranch meant for a man who didn't exist. But this child, this silent, broken child who hadn't spoken in 3 years, had called her Mama. And Annabelle would die before she let anyone take that away. But let's go back to where it started. Before we begin, if you love stories of second chances on the wild frontier where broken hearts find healing and love arrives when you least expect it, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell. Stay until the very end to see how this impossible love changes 3 lives forever, and comment below with your city. I want to see how far this story travels across America. Now let's ride. Montana Territory, December 1873. The stagecoach driver wouldn't look at her when he dropped her trunk in the snow. "You sure about this, ma'am?" He shifted his weight, eyes darting toward the dark shape of the ranch house barely visible through the blizzard. "Ain't too late to turn back to Fort Morgan. Storm's coming in mean tonight." Annabelle Hartley pulled her wool cloak tighter, fingers numb even through her gloves. Behind them, the horses stamped anxiously, breath steaming white in the bitter air. "I'm expected," she said, voice steadier than she felt. "Mr. Carter is waiting for me." The driver spat tobacco into the snow. "If you say so." He climbed back onto his seat without helping her with the trunk. "Good luck to you." The stagecoach disappeared into the white curtain of falling snow before she could change her mind. Annabelle stood alone in the middle of nowhere, trunk at her feet, the Missouri Matrimonial Agency's letter clutched in her hand. The paper was soft from being read too many times during the 3-week journey west. "Dear Miss Hartley, Mr. Jacob Carter, of Red Bluff Ranch, Montana Territory, has accepted your application for matrimony. He is a widower of good standing, owner of substantial property, seeking a woman of moral character to help manage his household. Stage passage has been arranged. You are expected December 15th. She'd memorized every word. Studied the single photograph they'd sent, a stern-faced man in his 40s standing beside a split-rail fence. It wasn't love, but it was escape. Escape from the charity ward in St. Louis, where she'd spent 2 years recovering. Escape from pitying looks and whispered conversations that stopped when she entered rooms. Escape from being the broken one, the war nurse too damaged to marry, too scarred to bear children. The wind screamed across the plains, cutting through her cloak like it wasn't there. She grabbed her trunk handle and dragged it through the snow toward the ranch house. Each step burned her thighs, her boots meant for city streets filled with ice. By the time she reached the porch, her hands were bleeding inside her gloves. The ranch house crouched low against the storm-dark windows like closed eyes. Smoke rose from the chimney. Someone was home. She raised her fist and knocked. Silence. She knocked again, harder. "Hello, Mr. Carter. It's Annabelle Hartley from the Matrimonial Agency." Still nothing. Her teeth began to chatter. She tried the door handle. Locked. She pounded with both fists, now panic rising in her chest. "Please, I've traveled 3 weeks. The letter said—" The door jerked open. A man filled the frame, tall and broad-shouldered, holding a rifle at his side. Not pointing it at her, but not exactly welcoming either. His face was hard angles in the lamplight behind him. Sharp jaw, straight nose, eyes the color of riverstone. Dark hair touched his collar, and several days' worth of beard shadowed his cheeks. He looked nothing like the photograph. "Who the hell are you?" His voice was rough, unused to visitors. Annabelle's heart sank, but she forced herself to stand straight despite her shaking legs. "My name is Annabelle Hartley. I'm from the Missouri Matrimonial Agency. I'm here to marry Mr. Jacob Carter of Red Bluff Ranch." She held out the letter with trembling fingers. "This is Red Bluff Ranch, isn't it?" The man stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. Snow blew past her into the house, and still he didn't move. "Sir, please, My name's Garrett Bishop, he said flatly. I own Red Bluff Ranch, and I sure as hell didn't send for a mail-order bride. The world tilted. Annabelle grabbed the door frame to steady herself. But the letter says, I don't care what the letter says. His eyes weren't unkind, just tired. Empty. There's no Jacob Carter here. Never has been. You got sent to the wrong place. That's impossible. But even as she said it, dread pooled in her stomach. The agency had been cheap, disorganized. She'd paid them her last $30. Please just let me show you. Ma'am, I'm telling you straight, you got bad information. He started to close the door. Annabelle shoved her boot in the gap. Pain shot through her foot, but she didn't move it. Please, the stage is gone. The storm is... Her voice cracked. I have nowhere else to go. Something flickered across his face. Not pity exactly. Maybe recognition of a fellow survivor. He looked past her at the swirling snow jaw working. Then he stepped back. One night. You sleep in the spare room and come morning I take you back to Fort Morgan, where you can sort this mess out. Understood? Yes, thank you. Don't thank me yet. He turned and walked into the house, leaving the door open. Annabelle grabbed her trunk and dragged it inside, relief flooding through her so intensely her knees nearly buckled. The door closed behind her, shutting out the wind's howl, and the sudden warmth made her skin burn. The main room was sparse but clean. A stone fireplace dominated one wall, flames crackling. Simple furniture, a table, chairs, a worn sofa. Braided rugs on the floor. Everything practical, nothing decorative except... She saw it on the mantel. A photograph in a silver frame. A woman with kind eyes and dark hair, pulled back wearing a high-collared dress. Young, maybe 25. Pretty. Beside the photograph sat a child's rag doll with button eyes. My wife died 4 years ago. Garrett's voice came from behind her, flat and matter-of-fact. You can have her room. Down the hall, last door. Annabelle turned. I'm so sorry for your loss. It was a long time ago. But his hand moved unconsciously to his chest like touching an old wound. There's stew on the stove if you're hungry. Privy's out back, but I wouldn't recommend it in this weather. Chamber pot's under the bed. Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Just don't get comfortable. He walked to the fireplace and stood with his back to her, staring into the flames. The rifle leaned against the wall within easy reach. This ain't your home. The dismissal was clear. Annabelle picked up her trunk and walked down the hallway, floorboards creaking under her feet. The last door stood slightly ajar. She pushed it open. The room was frozen in time. A 4-poster bed with a faded quilt. A dresser with a hairbrush still on top, strands of dark hair caught in the bristles. A woman's nightgown folded on the chair. On the wall, a calendar stopped on March 1869. She set her trunk down carefully, feeling like an intruder. This wasn't just a spare room, it was a shrine. A sound made her freeze. Breathing. Small, quiet breathing. She turned slowly. In the corner, half hidden behind a rocking chair, sat a little girl. Maybe 5 or 6 years old, wearing a flannel nightgown 3 sizes too big. Dark hair hung in tangles past her shoulders. Her feet were bare toes curled against the cold floor. But it was her eyes that struck Annabelle like a fist to the chest. Enormous brown eyes empty of light. The eyes of someone who'd seen too much. Hello, Annabelle whispered, kneeling slowly. My name's Annabelle. What's yours? The child didn't respond, didn't even blink. I'm sorry if I startled you. Your father didn't mention you were in here. She kept her voice soft, gentle, the way she'd spoken to frightened soldiers during the war. I won't hurt you. I promise. Nothing. The girl stared through her like looking at a ghost. Annabelle's heart ached. She'd seen that look before in the field hospitals. Shell shock, they'd called it. When someone's mind went somewhere the body couldn't follow. Lily. Garrett's voice came from the doorway, rough with something that might have been grief. Come here, girl. The child stood mechanically and walked past Annabelle without a glance. She stopped beside her father, and he put his hand on her shoulder awkward, like he wasn't sure how to touch her. "She don't talk," he said, answering the question Annabelle hadn't asked. "Hasn't said a word since—" He stopped, started over. "Since her mother died. Doctor says there's nothing wrong with her physically, just chooses not to speak." Annabelle stood slowly. "How did your wife die, Mr. Bishop?" His jaw clenched. "Accident. Out-riding horse threw her. Broke her neck." The words came out rehearsed hollow. "Lily found her." "Dear God." Annabelle pressed her hand to her mouth. "Yeah, well." He guided Lily toward the door. "You need anything, holler. But don't expect conversation. We keep to ourselves here." They left, and Annabelle was alone in the dead woman's room, surrounded by her things, her scent still faint in the fabric of the nightgown. She sank onto the bed and let herself shake. This was wrong. All of it. She'd come here to marry a man who didn't exist, to a ranch where a ghost still lived in every corner, where a hollow-eyed child wandered like a sleepwalker, and a broken man pretended to be whole. She should leave in the morning, take his offer, go back to Fort Morgan, figure something out. But as she lay down on the bed, still wearing her travel clothes, because she couldn't bring herself to undress in this shrine, she thought about that little girl's empty eyes. She thought about her own reflection in the windows of the St. Louis charity ward, the same emptiness looking back. Sometimes the wrong place found you for the right reasons. She didn't know she'd fallen asleep until she woke to screaming. Annabelle bolted upright, heart hammering. The fire had died to embers. Darkness pressed against the windows, and somewhere in the house a child was screaming like the world was ending. She grabbed the lamp and ran into the hallway. The screaming came from a room at the other end, Lily's room. The door flew open and Garrett emerged, hair wild, holding his daughter, who thrashed in his arms like a wild animal. "No, no, no." Her voice was hoarse, desperate. "Don't let him take her. Papa, don't let him." She was talking. The mute child was talking. Garrett looked stunned, terrified. "Lily, baby, you're dreaming. Wake up. He's hurting her." Lily's eyes were open, but unseeing. "There's so much blood. Mama. Mama." Annabelle set down the lamp and moved forward on instinct. "Mr. Bishop, let me—" "Stay back," he snarled, but there was fear in his voice, not anger. Lily was still screaming, fighting her father's grip. Her small fists pounded his chest. "Papa, wake up. You have to stop him. He's killing her." "Lily, please, I don't—" Garrett's voice broke. "I don't know what you want me to do." Annabelle stepped closer anyway. "Lily, sweetheart, look at me." The girl's wild eyes found hers. "Your mama's not here right now," Annabelle said gently. "But you're safe. Do you hear me? You're safe." "He killed her." Tears streamed down Lily's face. I saw him, and I couldn't stop him, and Papa was sleeping, and—" "Shh." Annabelle reached out slowly and touched Lily's hand. "You're here now, with your papa. Nobody's hurting anyone." Lily's breathing hitched. She stared at Annabelle like really seeing her for the first time. Then, without warning, she lunged from her father's arms and wrapped herself around Annabelle's neck, sobbing into her shoulder. Garrett stood, frozen arms still outstretched, face pale with shock. Annabelle held the shaking child, one hand stroking her tangled hair, murmuring wordless comfort, the way she'd done for dying soldiers when there was nothing left to say. 4 years, Garrett whispered hoarsely. 4 years, she hasn't made a sound. Lily's sobs gradually quieted. Her grip on Annabelle loosened, but she didn't let go. Her voice came out small, broken. "God finally sent you to us." The words hung in the air like a prayer. Garrett sank against the wall, one hand pressed over his face. His shoulders shook. He was crying, Annabelle realized. Silent, wrecking sobs he probably hadn't allowed himself in years. She carried Lily back to bed, the child clinging to her like she might disappear. Sat beside her, still holding her hand. "Stay," Lily whispered. "Please stay. I'm right here." Annabelle brushed hair from the girl's forehead. "I'm not going anywhere tonight. Promise." It was cruel to promise. Cruel and stupid and impossible. She was leaving in the morning. This wasn't her life. These weren't her people. She'd been sent to the wrong ranch by mistake, and she had to fix it. Had to, I promise. Lily's eyes drifted closed. Her breathing evened out. Within minutes, she was asleep, one small hand still gripping Annabelle's sleeve. Garrett appeared in the doorway, eyes red-rimmed but dry now. He looked at his daughter, then at Annabelle. What did she mean? His voice was barely audible. About someone killing her mother. About me sleeping. I don't know. But a chill ran down Annabelle's spine. Mr. Bishop, how much do you remember from the night your wife died? His face went blank. Then something flickered behind his eyes, panic maybe, or recognition. I remember going to bed and waking up with the sheriff pounding on the door, telling me they'd found Sarah's body by the creek, her horse grazing nearby. He swallowed hard. They said she must have been thrown, landed wrong. Do you remember anything in between? No. He looked away. I'd been drinking. I drank a lot back then. Sometimes I'd black out, wake up the next morning with hours just gone. Annabelle's stomach tightened. And you don't find that strange? That you don't remember anything from the night your wife died? I've spent 4 years trying not to think about it. His voice turned hard. What are you suggesting? Nothing. I'm just... She looked down at Lily's sleeping face. Your daughter said things, in her nightmare. Things that sounded like memories, not dreams. She was 5 years old. She saw her mother dead, and it broke something in her mind. But he didn't sound convinced. Kids mix up dreams and reality. Maybe. Annabelle gently disentangled herself from Lily's grip, pulling the quilt up to the girl's chin. Or maybe she saw something nobody wanted to believe. She walked past Garrett into the hallway. He followed, closing Lily's door softly behind them. You should get some sleep, he said. We'll talk in the morning. Will we? She turned to face him. Because I think you've spent 4 years not talking, not asking questions, not letting yourself remember. His jaw clenched. You don't know me. No, but I know what it looks like when someone's running from the truth. She'd seen it in the mirror often enough. Your daughter just spoke for the first time in 4 years, Mr. Bishop. She spoke about her mother being killed. Don't you think that deserves more than pretending it was just a nightmare? For a long moment he just stared at her. The lamplight carved shadows under his eyes, making him look years older. Get some sleep, Miss Hartley, he finally said. Come morning, I'm taking you to Fort Morgan like we agreed. Whatever you think you heard tonight, it ain't your concern. He walked back to his room and shut the door. Annabelle stood alone in the dark hallway, Lily's words echoing in her mind. He killed her. I saw him. Papa was sleeping. She returned to the dead woman's room and sat on the bed, too wired to sleep. Outside, the storm howled. Inside, secrets pressed against the walls like living things. She hadn't come here for this. She'd come for escape, for a fresh start, for someone to tell her she was worth something despite being broken. But maybe she thought, staring at the photograph on the dresser, the woman with kind eyes staring back. Maybe God did send people to the wrong places sometimes. Maybe wrong was exactly where they needed to be. When morning came, the storm hadn't broken. If anything, it had gotten worse. Snow piled against the windows in drifts taller than a man. The wind screamed like something alive and angry. Annabelle woke to the smell of coffee and frying bacon. She dressed quickly in the same travel clothes, ran her fingers through her hair, and ventured into the main room. Garrett stood at the stove, back rigid, stirring something in a cast-iron pan. He didn't turn when she entered. "Coffee's on the table," he said. "Food'll be ready in a minute." "Thank you." She poured herself a cup and sat wrapping her cold hands around the warm tin. "Where's Lily?" "Still sleeping. She usually wakes around 8. He brought the pan to the table and scooped scrambled eggs onto 2 plates. "Eat up, soon as the storm breaks enough to see we're heading out." Annabelle looked at the window where nothing was visible except solid white. "That could be days." "Then you'll be here days." He sat across from her and ate mechanically, not tasting anything. "But the second there's a break, we're going." They ate in silence. The eggs were good, better than she'd expected. She wondered if he'd learned to cook before or after his wife died. Wondered a lot of things she didn't dare ask. A small sound made them both look up. Lily stood in the hallway wearing the same oversized nightgown, hair even wilder than last night. She stared at Annabelle with those enormous brown eyes. Then she walked straight to her, climbed into her lap, like it was the most natural thing in the world, and buried her face in Annabelle's shoulder. Garrett's fork clattered to his plate. "Lily," he said carefully. "What are you doing?" The girl didn't respond, just held on to Annabelle tighter. Annabelle met Garrett's eyes over Lily's head, saw her own confusion reflected back. This child who hadn't spoken in years, who barely acknowledged her father's existence, had attached herself to a complete stranger overnight. "It's all right," Annabelle said softly, one hand coming up to stroke Lily's tangled hair. "She can stay." "No," Garrett stood abruptly. "Lily, come here. You need to eat breakfast." Lily shook her head against Annabelle's shoulder. "Lily Marie Bishop," I said. "Don't make her go." The words were muffled, but clear. "Please, Papa. She's the only one who doesn't smell like Mama anymore." The statement hit like a slap. Garrett went white. Annabelle's throat tightened. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Lily pulled back just enough to look at her father. Her voice was thin, fragile. "Everything in the house smells like Mama. Her soap, her dresses, even Papa's shirts because she washed them. It makes my chest hurt." Her small hand pressed against her sternum. "But she touched Annabelle's sleeve. "Smells like somewhere else. Like before Mama went away." Tears streamed silently down Garrett's face. He didn't wipe them away, just stood there broken. "I'll make you a plate," Annabelle said quietly to Lily. "And then we'll brush your hair all right. I bet it's all knotted." Lily nodded and slid off her lap to the chair beside her. Annabelle dished up eggs and bacon, aware of Garrett watching them with something like horror. Or maybe hope she couldn't tell the difference on his face. She helped Lily eat, cutting the bacon into small pieces the way she'd once done for her younger siblings before the war scattered them all. Lily ate slowly, methodically, never taking her eyes off Annabelle's face like she might vanish. "I need to get dressed," Garrett finally said, voice rough. "Keep the fire going. Don't open the door for any reason." He disappeared down the hallway. Annabelle helped Lily finish eating, then took her back to her room to brush out the tangles. The girl sat patiently on the floor between Annabelle's knees while she worked through the snarls as gently as possible. "Can you tell me about your nightmare last night?" Annabelle asked softly. Lily went rigid. "Papa says I'm not supposed to talk about that night." "Why not?" "Because it makes him sad." She picked at the hem of her nightgown. "And because nobody believes me anyway." Annabelle's hands stilled. "I believe you." Lily twisted to look up at her eyes searching. "You do?" "Yes. Whatever you saw, whatever you remember, it's real to you. That makes it real." The girl turned back around, but her shoulders had relaxed a fraction. "I woke up because I heard Mama crying. She was talking to someone, a man. But not Papa. Papa was snoring in their room. I got up to look." The brush moved through her hair in slow, steady strokes. They were by the back door. The man had Mama's arm, and she was trying to pull away. She said, "Please, I told you no. I chose Garrett." And the man said something mean. Then he hit her. Annabelle's breath caught. Mama fell down. She hit her head on the table corner and there was blood. So much blood. Lily's voice had gone flat, distant. The man looked scared then. He grabbed her and dragged her outside. I followed to the window and watched him put her on a horse, but she wasn't moving. He rode away with her. Did you see his face? It was dark, but I knew his boots. They had silver on them. Papa's brother had boots like that. The brush slipped from Annabelle's hands. Papa's brother, she whispered. Uncle James. He used to visit a lot before Mama died. Then he stopped coming. Lily picked up the fallen brush and handed it back. I tried to tell Papa the next morning, but he was crying so hard he couldn't hear me. Then people came, the sheriff, and all these others, and they said Mama fell off her horse, and I knew that was wrong, but when I tried to talk, nothing came out. Oh, sweetheart. And then Papa sold all Mama's things, except what's in that room, and he stopped talking to Uncle James, and everyone said I was sick in the head, so I should stay quiet. She turned around again, eyes fierce despite the tears. But I'm not sick. I remember everything. Annabelle pulled the girl into her arms, mind racing. A brother. A rejected advance. An accidental death covered up as a riding accident. And a child witness nobody would believe. Does your papa know? She asked. About Uncle James? I tried to tell him once after I stopped talking. I drew pictures, but he thought they were just scribbles, said I was confused. Lily pulled back, wiping her nose on her sleeve. Are you going to tell him? Annabelle didn't know what to say. This wasn't her place, her family, her tragedy. She was leaving today, or as soon as the storm broke. She had her own life to figure out. But Lily was looking at her with such desperate hope. Yes, she heard herself say. I'll tell him. The girl's smile was small and broken, but real. Thank you. Garrett emerged from his room dressed for travel, heavy coat, gloves, hat, pulled low. He took one look at them, sitting together on Lily's bed, and his expression shuddered. Storm's letting up, he said. We should go now before it gets worse again. Mr. Bishop, we need to talk. No, we don't. He crossed to the door and opened it. Wind and snow howled in. Get your things, Miss Hartley. I'm taking you to Fort Morgan. Your daughter told me what happened the night your wife died. His hand froze on the door handle. What? She saw who killed her mother. Annabelle stood, placing herself between Garrett and Lily. And it wasn't you. The door slammed shut. He turned slowly, face pale. What the hell are you talking about? Tell him, Lily, Annabelle said gently. But Lily had gone silent again, eyes wide with fear. Garrett looked between them. Tell me what? So Annabelle told him, every word Lily had said. The man by the back door, the argument, the blood, the silver-toed boots, his brother's name. With each sentence, Garrett seemed to crumble. By the end, he'd sunk into a chair, head in his hands. James, he whispered. My own brother. She tried to tell you before, Annabelle said quietly. But the trauma took her voice. He looked up at his daughter, eyes raw. Is this true? Lily nodded, tears streaming. Why didn't you? He stopped, started over. I thought you stopped talking because of me, because I was drunk that night, because I couldn't protect her. Papa was sleeping, Lily whispered. It wasn't your fault. Garrett made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Then he was moving, crossing the room in 3 strides, pulling Lily into his arms and holding her like she might disappear. I'm sorry, he choked out. God, baby, I'm so sorry. I should have listened. Should have known you were trying to tell me something. Lily clung to him finally after 4 years, letting herself be held by her father. Annabelle turned away to give them privacy, throat tight. This wasn't her moment. This was theirs, a father and daughter finding each other again across a chasm of grief and guilt. But then Garrett's voice stopped her. Miss Hartley. She looked back. Thank you, he said simply, for hearing what I couldn't. She nodded, not trusting her voice. The storm raged on outside, but inside, something had finally broken. Not broken apart, but broken open, like ice cracking under spring sun. "I need to find James," Garrett said, still holding Lily. "He's been living in Fort Morgan, running a saloon last I heard." "You need to tell the sheriff first," Annabelle said. "Let the law handle it." "The law?" His jaw clenched. "The sheriff's the one who ruled it an accident. Who told me to stop asking questions? He's either incompetent or complicit." "Then go to the territorial marshal. But don't go alone, and don't go for revenge." She met his eyes. "Your daughter needs a father, not a murderer or a martyr." Something in his face softened. "You're right." He set Lily down gently. "I'll ride to the territorial office in Helena, file a proper report. Let them investigate." He looked at his daughter. "Will you be all right here for a few days?" Lily's hand shot out and grabbed Annabelle's skirt. "Only if she stays." They both looked at her. Annabelle opened her mouth to say she couldn't possibly. This wasn't her responsibility. She had to get to Fort Morgan and figure out what happened with the matrimonial agency. And, "All right," she heard herself say instead. "I'll stay." Garrett's eyes held hers for a long moment. "Thank you." "But Mr. Bishop..." She lifted her chin. "When you get back, we're going to have a conversation about what happens next. Because I didn't come here to be a temporary nursemaid." A ghost of a smile touched his mouth, the first she'd seen. "No, ma'am. I reckon you came here to marry a man who doesn't exist. Seems we've both had our plans ruined." "Seems so?" He gathered supplies, checked the horses, gave Annabelle instructions about the rifle over the fireplace and where he kept emergency provisions. Told Lily to mind Miss Hartley and not go outside for any reason. At the door he paused, looked back at the two of them standing together in the lamplight, this stranger who'd appeared from nowhere, and his daughter who'd finally found her voice. "I'll be back in 3 days," he said. 4 at most." "We'll be here," Annabelle replied. And just like that, he was gone. The door closed behind him. Through the window she watched him ride into the storm until the white swallowed him whole. Lily's hand crept into hers. "Are you scared?" the girl asked. Annabelle thought about it. She was alone in a stranger's house in the middle of nowhere, responsible for a traumatized child, while somewhere out there, a murderer walked free. She should be terrified. But what she felt instead was steady, clear, like something inside her had finally clicked into place after years of being loose and rattling. "No," she said. "I'm not scared." "Me neither," Lily said. "Not anymore." They stood together at the window, watching snow fall on a landscape as white and blank as an unwritten page. And Annabelle thought not for the first time that sometimes the wrong place found you for exactly the right reasons. The first day alone passed in a strange, suspended quiet. Annabelle found herself moving through the house like she'd always lived there, though every corner held reminders she was a stranger. She made Lily breakfast cornmeal mush with a precious spoonful of molasses from the pantry. The girl ate slowly, watching her with those enormous eyes that seemed to catalog every movement. "Did your mama teach you to cook?" Lily asked suddenly. Annabelle paused at the stove. "My mama died when I was 12. Cholera took half our town that year." She stirred the pot without looking up. "After that, it was just me and my 3 younger brothers. I learned to cook because someone had to." "Where are your brothers now?" "Scattered." The word tasted bitter. "Thomas died at Shiloh. Robert made it through the war but went west to California, haven't heard from him in 2 years. And Samuel?" She swallowed hard. "Samuel came home different. Couldn't stand to be inside buildings. Last I knew he was trapping somewhere in the Rockies." Lily pushed her spoon through the mush. "So you're alone too?" "Yes, sweetheart. I'm alone too." "Not anymore," Lily said quietly. "Now you have me." Annabelle's throat closed. She turned away, blinking hard, and carried her bowl to the window where she could compose herself. Outside, snow still fell, but gentler now. The storm had exhausted itself into something softer. "Tell me about your mama," she said, changing the subject. "What was she like?" Lily's face brightened. She sang all the time. Even when she was doing wash or cooking, she'd sing these old songs from when she was little in Kentucky. Papa used to say she could make even Monday mornings feel like Christmas. "She sounds wonderful." She was. Lily got up and brought her empty bowl to the basin. "She taught me how to make biscuits, but I can't remember the recipe anymore. I tried once after she died, and they came out hard as rocks. Papa ate them anyway, and said they were good, but I knew he was lying." Annabelle smiled. "Well, maybe we can figure it out together. I'm pretty good with biscuits." "Really?" Hope lit up the girl's face. "Today?" "Why not? We've got flour and lard. Might as well put them to use." They spent the morning in the kitchen, Lily standing on a chair beside the counter, while Annabelle measured and mixed. The girl's small hands worked the dough with fierce concentration, tongue poking out between her teeth. "My mama used to say, you can tell a lot about a person by how they make biscuits," Lily said, punching the dough harder than necessary. "Gentle hands make gentle biscuits. Angry hands make tough ones." "What kind of hands did your mama have?" "Gentle. Always gentle." Lily's punching slowed. "Even when she was sad, she was gentle." "Was she sad a lot?" The girl's hands stilled completely. "After Uncle James started coming around more, yeah. She'd get this look on her face like she was somewhere else, and sometimes I'd hear her crying at night." Annabelle's stomach tightened, but she kept her voice casual. "Did Uncle James come around often?" "Every week almost. He'd bring Papa whiskey, and they'd sit up late talking. But sometimes when Papa fell asleep, Uncle James would stay. And Mama would go outside with him, and when she came back in, her face would be all red and her hands would shake." "Did you tell your papa about that?" "I tried once, but Uncle James heard me and said I was making up stories for attention. Papa believed him." Lily looked up, eyes fierce. "But I wasn't lying." "I know you weren't." Annabelle covered the girl's flour-dusted hands with her own. "Sometimes, adults are very good at not seeing what they don't want to see." They shaped the biscuits in silence and slid them into the oven. While they baked, Annabelle heated water for laundry. She'd noticed Lily only had 2 dresses, the nightgown she'd been wearing, and a faded blue calico that hung in the wardrobe, both filthy with months of neglect. "When's the last time you had a proper bath?" she asked. Lily shrugged. "Papa tries sometimes, but I don't like it. The water's always too hot or too cold, and he scrubs too hard." "Well, I promise I won't scrub too hard. And after we'll wash your hair and braid it nice. Would you like that?" The girl nodded slowly, uncertain but willing. Annabelle dragged the tin tub in from the back porch and positioned it near the fire. She heated pot after pot of water, testing the temperature, carefully adding a few drops of lavender oil she found in a cabinet, probably left over from Lily's mother. Getting the girl undressed required patience. Lily was shy, folding her arms across her thin chest, clearly unused to being cared for this way. But Annabelle kept up a steady stream of gentle talk, and eventually Lily stepped into the tub. The water turned gray almost immediately. "Lord child," Annabelle murmured, "when did you last see soap?" "I don't remember." She worked carefully, gently, the way she'd bathed wounded soldiers who flinched at every touch. Lily gradually relaxed, tilting her head back, when Annabelle washed her hair, even closing her eyes. "My mama used to sing while she washed my hair," Lily said softly. "What did she sing?" "Barbary Allen. Do you know it?" Annabelle did. It was an old ballad, sad and haunting. She began to sing in a low voice, slightly off-key, but earnest. Lily's lips moved with the familiar words. "In Scarlet Town where I was born, there was a fair maid dwellin' made every youth cry. Well a day, her name was Barbary Allen." By the time the song ended, Lily was crying. Not loud, wrenching sobs, but quiet tears that slid down her cheeks and mixed with the bathwater. "I miss her so much," she whispered. "Sometimes I can't remember her face anymore. Just pieces. Her hands, her voice. But not all of her at once." Annabelle's own eyes burned. "That's how grief works, sweetheart. The edges blur. But the love doesn't. You'll always have the love." "Promise?" "I promise." She helped Lily out of the tub and wrapped her in a warm towel, rubbing her dry and helping her into clean underthings. The blue calico dress was still dirty, so Annabelle made a decision that would have horrified her a week ago. "Stay here," she said, and went to the dead woman's room. She opened the wardrobe with trembling hands. Inside hung 4 dresses, all carefully preserved, smelling faintly of cedar and lavender. She chose the simplest one, a dove gray cotton with small pearl buttons. Back in the main room, she held it up. "This was your mama's. Would you like to wear it? We can take it in so it fits." Lily's face crumpled. "Papa said I'm not supposed to touch Mama's things." "Your papa isn't here. And I think your mama would want you to have it." Annabelle knelt down. "But only if you want to. I won't force you." Lily reached out and touched the fabric with reverent fingers. Then she nodded. They spent the afternoon altering the dress, Annabelle's needle flying, while Lily sat beside her watching every stitch. The girl was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet, thoughtful, rather than empty. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said eventually. "Of course. Why did you come here to marry a man you never met?" Annabelle's hands stilled. It was a fair question, one she'd been avoiding answering even to herself. "I was broken," she said finally. "During the war, I worked in the hospitals. I saw terrible things. Did terrible things too, had to decide who got medicine and who didn't, who we could save, and who we had to let die. And then one day there was an explosion. Artillery shell hit the field hospital." She touched her side instinctively. "I woke up 3 days later, and they told me I'd live. But they also told me I'd never have children." Lily's eyes widened. "Never? Never. The damage was too severe." She forced herself to keep stitching. "After that, I tried going home to St. Louis. But everyone looked at me different. The other women would stop talking when I walked into church. Men would tip their hats but never linger. I was damaged goods, you see. Unmarriageable. That's mean. That's life, sweetheart. People don't know what to do with broken things." She tied off a thread and snipped it. "So when I saw the advertisement for the matrimonial agency, I thought maybe out here where nobody knew me, I could start over, be useful, have a home. But the agency sent you to the wrong place. Or maybe the right place." Annabelle looked up and smiled. "I never thought I'd be a mother, but here you are." Lily launched herself at Annabelle, arms wrapping tight around her neck. The dress fell forgotten to the floor. "You're not broken," Lily whispered fiercely. "You're the best person I ever met." Annabelle held her close, breathing in the lavender scent of her clean hair, and thought maybe, just maybe, the girl was right. That night, after Lily was asleep in her altered dress, Annabelle sat by the fire and allowed herself to think about Garrett Bishop. He'd ridden into a storm to report his own brother for murder, left his daughter with a stranger because that stranger had done what he couldn't listen. There was strength in that, and a kind of brokenness that matched her own. She wondered what he'd been like before the whiskey, before the grief. Wondered what it would be like to see him smile genuinely without the weight of 4 years' guilt pressing down. Then she shook her head. Foolish thoughts. She was here temporarily. Once Garrett returned and the law got involved, she'd still need to find her way to Fort Morgan, figure out what happened with the matrimonial agency, make a new plan. This wasn't her life. These weren't her people. Except Lily's small hand in hers had felt like coming home in a way nothing else ever had. She was still sitting there staring into the embers when she heard the sound. Horses. Multiple horses moving fast. Annabelle grabbed the rifle from above the mantel and checked that it was loaded. Garrett had shown her before he left. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady when she called out, "Lily, stay in your room. Don't come out no matter what." She positioned herself at the window, rifle ready, and watched 3 riders emerge from the darkness. The lead rider dismounted, and lamplight from the porch caught his face. Younger than Garrett, with the same sharp jaw, but a softer mouth. Handsome in a way that probably charmed saloon girls and fooled decent women. Silver-toed boots flashed as he walked toward the door. James Bishop had come home. Annabelle's heart hammered. She checked the rifle again, made sure the door was barred, and waited. The knock was polite, almost friendly. "Garrett, you in there? It's James." She said nothing. "Look, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I heard some disturbing rumors in town about you asking questions. Figured we should clear the air, brother to brother." Still she stayed silent. "Come on now. Don't be childish. Let me in. It's colder than a witch's." He stopped. Tried the handle. "Garrett." One of the other riders spoke up. "Maybe he's out checking fences." "In this weather, not likely." James's voice had lost its friendly tone. "Something's wrong." Annabelle heard them moving around the house, checking windows. She backed away from the door, rifle trained on it, praying Lily stayed quiet. Then James's voice came from right outside the window beside her. "Well, well, looks like my brother's got himself a visitor. A lady visitor by the looks of that shadow." She froze. "Ma'am, I'm James Bishop, Garrett's brother. No need to be afraid. Just wondering where my brother's gotten to." "He's not here," she called out, keeping her voice firm. "And I'm armed," James laughed. "I don't doubt it. Garrett always kept his guns loaded. But I'm not here to cause trouble, miss. Just family business." "Then come back when your family's home." A pause. Then softer, more dangerous. "Who are you?" "None of your concern." "You're not from around here. I know everyone in the territory." His voice moved along the wall as he circled back toward the door. "You wouldn't happen to be that mail-order bride I heard about, would you? The one that got sent to the wrong ranch?" Her blood ran cold. How did he know about that? Stage driver in Fort Morgan likes to talk. James continued, answering her unspoken question. "Said he dropped a woman off here 3 days ago. Eastern lady looking to marry some farmer named Carter." He chuckled. "But there's no Carter here, just my brother. So what I'm wondering is, what's a desperate woman with nowhere else to go doing in my brother's house while he's conveniently gone?" "I'm watching his daughter," Annabelle said. "And I suggest you leave before I put a bullet in you." "Lily." James's voice sharpened. "Lily's in there with you." "She's asleep, and she's going to stay that way. I need to see her. She's my niece, for God's sake. I haven't seen her in 4 years." "And whose fault is that?" Silence. Long and thick. "Ma'am," James said slowly, "I don't know what my brother told you, but—" "He didn't tell me anything. Lily did." Another pause. When James spoke again, his voice had changed completely. Gone was the charm, the easy friendliness. What remained was cold and calculating. "So the little brat finally talked." "That's unfortunate." The 2 other men shifted uncomfortably. One of them spoke up. "James, what's she talking about?" "Shut up, Cole." James moved closer to the door. "Miss, I think we need to have a conversation about what exactly Lily told you." "I think we don't." Annabelle cocked the rifle, the sound sharp in the quiet. "I think you need to ride away and not come back." "Can't do that. See if Lily's been telling stories, and that's all they are, stories from a confused child. Then those stories could cause problems for me. I've built a good life in Fort Morgan. Got a business, got respect. Can't have some spinster and a crazy kid ruining that." "I'm not alone," Annabelle lied. "Garrett's in the barn. You try anything, he'll—" "Garrett's not in the barn." James's voice was utterly confident. "Garrett rode to Helena 3 days ago." I've got friends who work the roads. They saw him pass through. So it's just you and Lily in there." He paused. "And my guess is you don't actually know how to use that rifle." Annabelle's palms were sweating. He was right about Garrett, and mostly right about the rifle she'd fired one exactly twice in her life, and both times she'd missed the target. But she'd bluffed her way through worse. "Try me," she said. James laughed. "I like you, got backbone. But here's the situation, miss. I need to know what Lily said, and I need to know who else knows. And I need to make sure certain stories don't spread any further. Are you threatening a child?" "I'm protecting myself. There's a difference." His voice hardened. "Now open this door, or I'll kick it down." Annabelle's mind raced. The door was solid, but not solid enough to withstand 3 men. The rifle had maybe 6 shots. She was a terrible aim, and Lily was sleeping in the back room vulnerable. She needed time, needed Garrett to come back, needed anything except what was about to happen. "All right," she called out. "All right, I'll tell you what she said, but you have to promise to leave after." "That depends on what you tell me." Annabelle took a shaky breath. "She said she saw you the night her mother died. Said you and Sarah argued by the back door. Said you hit her and she fell." Silence. "She said you dragged Sarah outside and put her on a horse, made it look like a riding accident." More silence. Then James's voice, quiet and thoughtful. "Well, that's more detailed than I expected." "So it's true. My sister-in-law was a beautiful woman, wasted on my brother who was drunk more often than sober. I offered her a better life. She refused, got hysterical." He said it like explaining something obvious. "What happened was an accident. I never meant for her to die." "But you covered it up. Let your brother think he was responsible." "Garrett was too drunk to know better, and honestly, part of me figured he deserved the guilt. If he'd been a better husband, Sarah might have said yes when I asked her to run away with me." One of the other men swore softly. "Jesus Christ, James. You killed your brother's wife." "It was an accident, Cole. Keep up." James's footsteps moved away from the door. "But now we've got a problem. This woman knows. Lily knows. And apparently Garrett's riding to Helena to file some kind of report." "We should go," the third man said nervously. "This is bad, James. This is murder. Manslaughter at worst. And only if anyone believes a traumatized 6-year-old over me." James was quiet for a moment. "Cole, ride to Helena. Fast as you can. Find Garrett before he reaches the territorial office. Tell him Lily's sick, dying maybe. Get him to come home." "And then what?" "Then we have a family meeting. Sort this all out properly." His voice was cold. "As for you, miss, I'm going to give you one chance. Come morning you take Lily and you ride to Fort Morgan. You get on the first stage east, and you forget everything the kid told you. I'll even pay your fare. And if I don't, then I'll do what I should have done 4 years ago." The friendliness was completely gone now. Accidents happen on the frontier. Houses burn. Women get lost in storms. Little girls fall through ice. Rage boiled up in Annabelle's chest. "You'd murder your own niece. I'd do what's necessary to protect my life." He mounted his horse. "You've got until dawn to decide. Choose wisely." The 3 riders disappeared into the darkness. Annabelle stood frozen, rifle still raised until she heard Lily's small voice behind her. "He's going to kill us, isn't he?" She spun around. The girl stood in the hallway in her mother's altered dress, face pale but eyes clear. "I told you to stay in your room." "I heard everything." Lily walked forward and took Annabelle's hand. "He killed Mama, and now he's going to kill us too." "No." Annabelle knelt down, gripping the girl's shoulders. "No, I won't let that happen." "But Papa's not here, and there's 3 of them and only you, and you don't know how to shoot." "I'll learn fast." She tried to sound confident. "We'll bar all the doors and windows. Keep watch. Your Papa will be back soon." "Not if Uncle James's friend stops him." Lily's voice was too old, too knowing. We have to run. Run where? It's the middle of winter. We'd freeze before we made it to town. Then we stay and fight. Annabelle looked at this small, fierce girl, this child who'd survived trauma and silence, and 4 years of grief, and saw herself reflected back. Broken, determined, refusing to give up. "All right," she said. "We stay and fight." They spent the rest of the night preparing. Annabelle dragged furniture against the doors, checked every window latch, loaded every gun she could find, the rifle, 2 pistols, an old shotgun missing half its stock. She had no idea if she could hit anything, but maybe the noise would scare them off. Lily helped without complaint, her small face set with determination. She knew where her father kept ammunition, which floorboards creaked, where the sight lines were best. "Mama used to say I was observant," she explained. "Said I saw things other people missed." Your mama was right. As dawn approached, they positioned themselves by the window with the clearest view of the approach. Annabelle held the rifle. Lily sat beside her with a cast-iron pan, not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. "Are you scared?" Lily whispered. "Terrified," Annabelle admitted. Yeah, but less than before." Lily leaned against her shoulder. "Because I'm not alone this time." They sat together, watching the darkness slowly turn gray, waiting for whatever came next. And in the distance, barely audible over the wind, came the sound of hoofbeats. Someone was coming. The hoofbeats grew louder, and Annabelle's finger tightened on the trigger. "Wait," Lily whispered, pressing her face to the window. "That's only one horse." She was right. A single rider emerged from the gray dawn light, hunched against the wind. Not James. Someone else. The rider dismounted and stumbled toward the house, and Annabelle's breath caught. She threw down the rifle and ran to the door, shoving furniture aside. "Miss Hartley, don't!" Lily called out, but Annabelle was already wrenching the door open. Garrett nearly collapsed on the threshold. His face was gray with cold, and exhaustion ice-crusted in his beard. Blood stained his coat sleeve. "Get inside," Annabelle said, grabbing his arm and hauling him through the door. Lily helped push it closed behind them. "James!" Garrett gasped out. "Cole found me on the road. Said Lily was dying. I knew." He coughed, wincing. "Knew it was a trap, but came anyway." "You're hurt." Annabelle guided him to a chair, her hands already working open his coat. The wound wasn't deep, but it was still bleeding. "What happened?" "Cole tried to stop me. We fought." Garrett's eyes found his daughter. "Lily, baby, are you all right?" "I'm fine, Papa." She brought him a dipper of water. "But Uncle James was here. He knows I talked. He said he's going to kill us." Garrett's expression hardened. "Over my dead body." "That's probably his plan," Annabelle said grimly, cleaning the knife wound with whiskey. Garrett hissed, but didn't pull away. "He gave us until dawn to leave. That was 3 hours ago. Then he'll be back soon." Garrett stood swaying slightly. "We need to go. Now. All of us. You can barely stand. You'll never make it to Fort Morgan. Then we head for the Madsen place. It's only 5 miles east. Henrik's got sons, big boys all armed. We can hole up there until the marshal comes." "Can you ride 5 miles?" He met her eyes. "Can you shoot if I can't?" "No," she admitted. "I'm terrible with guns." "Then I guess I'll ride." He grabbed the rifle and checked the ammunition. "Lily, get your warmest clothes. Miss Hartley, pack food and water. We leave in 5 minutes." They moved fast. Annabelle threw supplies into a saddlebag, while Lily pulled on double layers of stockings and her thickest coat. Garrett saddled 2 horses with shaking hands, favoring his wounded arm. "You'll ride with me," he told Annabelle. "Lily rides alone. She's good with horses. If something happens to me, you take her and ride like hell. Don't stop, don't look back. You hear me? Nothing's going to happen to you." "But if it does?" "I hear you." She grabbed his hand. "But you're not dying today, Garrett Bishop. I won't allow it." He smiled, Then a real smile, brief but genuine. "Yes, ma'am." They led the horses out through the barn, avoiding the front approach. The sky was fully light now, clouds heavy with more snow. Garrett helped Lily onto her horse, then climbed onto his own, reaching down to pull Annabelle up behind him. "Hold tight," he said, "and pray." They rode east, Garrett pushing hard despite his injury. Annabelle wrapped her arms around his waist and pressed close, feeling his heart hammering against her cheek. Behind them, Lily kept pace, small body moving with the horse, like she'd been born in the saddle. They'd covered maybe 2 miles when Lily screamed, "Papa, behind us!" Annabelle twisted to look back. 3 riders crested the ridge, moving fast. James in front, recognizable even at a distance by those silver-toed boots. "How far to the Madsen place?" Annabelle shouted over the wind. 3 miles, maybe less." Garrett urged the horse faster. "Come on, girl, come on." But James's horses were fresher, and he was gaining ground. Within minutes, the gap had closed to 100 yards. 50. "Garrett." James's voice carried across the open ground. "Stop running, brother. Let's talk like civilized men." "Keep going," Garrett told Annabelle. "No matter what happens, keep going." "What are you?" He suddenly reined in, wheeling the horse around. "Take Lily," he said, pushing Annabelle toward the girl. "Ride to Madsen's. Don't stop." "I'm not leaving you." "That's an order, Miss Hartley." His voice was steel. "Lily needs you alive. Now go." Annabelle grabbed Lily's reins and kicked her horse forward, the girl crying out in protest. But Garrett had already turned to face his brother, rifle across his saddle. James pulled up 20 feet away, flanked by Cole and the third man. His smile was sharp as broken glass. "This is foolish, Garrett. You're wounded and outnumbered. Just give us the woman and the child. Let them go back east where they belong, and we can forget this whole misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Garrett's voice shook with rage. "You killed my wife." "Sarah's death was an accident. A tragedy, yes, but not murder." James spread his hands reasonably. "I loved her, Garrett. I wanted to give her a better life than you could. She refused. We argued. She fell. That's all. You let me think it was my fault for 4 years. You were drunk. You barely knew which way was up. What good would the truth have done?" James's voice turned cold. "Besides, you deserved to suffer. You had everything: the ranch, the beautiful wife, the daughter, and you threw it away for whiskey. Sarah deserved better. So you killed her. It was an accident." James's patience was fraying. "But now you're making it a problem. Riding to Helena, filling that little brat's head with accusations." Garrett's rifle came up in one smooth motion. "Don't call my daughter a brat." James didn't flinch. "Shoot me, and Cole will drop you before you can work the bolt. Then who protects Lily?" "Maybe I don't care. Maybe taking you down is enough." "You care. That's always been your weakness, brother. You care too damn much." James edged his horse forward. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to lower that rifle. We're going to ride to your ranch and have a civilized conversation about how to handle this situation quietly. No marshals, no public scandal. Just family business." "No." "Garrett, be reasonable." "I said no." Garrett's voice was quiet but absolute. "You're going to turn around and ride to Fort Morgan. You're going to confess to the sheriff. And you're going to let the law decide what happens next." James laughed, but there was no humor in it. The law's been paid off for years, brother. Why do you think they ruled Sarah's death an accident so quickly? I made sure of it." The admission hung in the cold air like smoke. "Then I'll take you to Helena myself," Garrett said, "at gunpoint if necessary." "You're not taking me anywhere." James's hand dropped to his hip, and suddenly there was a pistol in his grip. Cole grabbed the woman and kid. They couldn't have gotten far. Cole hesitated. "James, I didn't sign up for this. Covering up an accident's one thing, but threatening a child. Do it." Cole looked between the brothers' conflict clear on his face. Then he slowly shook his head. "No, I'm out. This is too far." James's face went purple with rage. "You spineless!" The third man spoke up, voice shaking. "I'm with Cole. This ain't right, James. None of it." "Fine." James's voice went deadly quiet. "Go. But if either of you talk, I'll make sure you hang right alongside me. Understood?" The two men turned their horses and rode away without looking back. Now it was just the brothers alone on the frozen plain, guns drawn. "Last chance, Garrett. Right away. Take your girls and disappear. I'll leave you alone. You have my word." "Your word's worthless." Garrett's aim never wavered. "Drop the gun, James." "Can't do that." "Then I guess we're doing this." For a long moment, neither moved. The wind whistled through the space between them. Somewhere in the distance a crow called. Then James fired. The shot went wide intentionally, Annabelle realized later. A warning. But Garrett's horse spooked rearing. Garrett fought to stay mounted, his wounded arm giving out, and he tumbled sideways into the snow. The rifle fell from his grip. James was on him in seconds, pistol aimed at his brother's head. "Sorry, Garrett. I really am, but I can't let you ruin my life over ancient history." "James, don't." "Give Sarah my regards when you see her." The gunshot echoed across the empty land. But it wasn't James's gun that fired. He staggered backward, eyes wide with shock, blood spreading across his chest. His pistol dropped from nerveless fingers. He turned slowly, and there 50 feet away, still mounted, was Annabelle Hartley, holding Garrett's rifle with shaking hands. "You said you couldn't shoot," James gasped. "I lied." Her voice was steady, even though her hands weren't. "Now get on your horse and ride to town. The marshal's already on his way from Helena. Garrett sent a telegram before he left. This is over, James." "You killed me." "No, I shot you in the shoulder. But I'll aim for your heart if you don't move." She worked the bolt, chambering another round. "Go." James looked at his brother, still lying in the snow, staring up at them both in disbelief. Then he looked at Annabelle, this woman who'd appeared from nowhere and destroyed everything. "This isn't over," he said, climbing shakily onto his horse. "Yes," Garrett said, finally finding his voice. "It is." James rode away, hunched over his saddle, leaving a trail of blood drops in the snow. Annabelle dropped the rifle and slid off her horse legs, nearly giving out. Lily was suddenly there, catching her small arms, impossibly strong. "You saved him," the girl whispered. "You saved Papa." Garrett stood brushing snow from his coat and walked to them. He looked at Annabelle like seeing her for the first time. "You said you couldn't shoot." "I've shot twice in my life. Both times I missed the target." She was shaking harder now, the shock setting in. "I guess the third time's the charm." "You could have killed him." "I know." Her voice broke. "I aimed for his shoulder. I couldn't." Garrett pulled her into his arms, holding her tight while she shook apart. Over her head, his hand found Lily's, and the three of them stood together in the snow, bound by violence and survival, and something deeper than blood. "Thank you," Garrett said into her hair. "For my life, for my daughter, for everything." Annabelle couldn't answer, could only hold on and let herself be held. The marshal arrived that afternoon with 4 deputies. They found James Bishop collapsed on the road 2 miles from Fort Morgan, half dead from blood loss and shock. Cole and the third man, whose name turned out to be Warren, had already confessed everything to the sheriff, who'd finally grown a conscience when faced with 2 witnesses. The story unraveled quickly after that. The bribed sheriff was arrested. James's saloon was searched, revealing ledgers that documented his payoffs and threats. And in Sarah Bishop's grave, when they finally exhumed the body, the coroner found injuries consistent with a fall, but also defensive wounds on her arms that told the real story. Garrett had to tell it all 3 times, once to the marshal, once to the territorial judge, who arrived from Helena, and once more at James's trial 2 months later. Each time his voice stayed steady. Each time Lily sat beside him, small hand in his, and corroborated every word. Annabelle testified too. About finding Lily, about hearing the child's memories, about James's threats, and the confrontation on the road. The judge listened with fierce attention, and when she described shooting James to save Garrett's life, he nodded approvingly. Justifiable defense of another, he ruled. No charges. James Bishop was sentenced to 20 years hard labor for manslaughter and conspiracy. He'd be an old man when he got out if he survived that long, but all of that came later. For now, in the immediate aftermath, Garrett took them to the Madsen farm as planned. Henrik Madsen was a Norwegian immigrant with a barrel chest and 5 strapping sons, and his wife Ingrid took one look at the 3 of them, bloody, exhausted, traumatized, and immediately set about mothering them with aggressive efficiency. "You sit," she ordered, pushing them toward the kitchen table. "Eat, drink, no arguing." They sat, they ate, and slowly the reality of what had happened began to sink in. "I shot a man," Annabelle said quietly, staring at her plate. "You saved a man," Garrett corrected. "There's a difference." "Is there?" She looked up at him. "I aimed at another human being and pulled the trigger. I wanted to hurt him. In that moment, I wanted him dead." "He would have killed your papa," Lily said fiercely. "You didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice. I chose violence, just like he did." Garrett reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "You chose to protect someone you love. That's not the same." The word hung between them. Love. Annabelle's breath caught. I barely know you." "You stayed when you could have left. You defended my daughter. You put yourself between her and danger without hesitation." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "That's love, Miss Hartley, whether you call it that or not." She pulled her hand away, heart hammering. "I need air." She walked out onto the Madsen's porch and stood in the cold arms wrapped around herself. Behind her, she heard Garrett tell Lily to stay inside, then his boots on the wooden planks. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have said that. You've been through enough without me pushing. I can't have children." The words burst out of her. "I came west thinking I could hide that fact, pretend to be whole, but I'm not. I'm broken, Garrett. Damaged. And you and Lily deserve someone who can give you a real family." "We have a real family." He moved to stand beside her, not touching, just present. "A father who failed his wife. A child who went silent for 4 years. And a woman who survived a war and kept her humanity. That's what real looks like. Broken pieces that somehow fit together." Lily needs siblings. A normal life. Lily needs a mother who loves her. Everything else is just details. Annabelle turned to look at him. Really look. At the exhaustion carved into his face, the blood still on his coat, the way he held his wounded arm close to his body. At the hope in his eyes despite everything. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too." He smiled slightly. "I'm scared I'll drink again. Scared I'll fail you both. Scared that any day you'll realize you made a mistake staying here. What if we both made a mistake? Then we'll make it together." He held out his hand. "Stay, Annabelle. Not as a mail-order bride or a nursemaid or anything else. Stay as yourself, as family." She stared at his outstretched hand for a long moment. Then she took it. "All right," she said. "I'll stay." From inside the house came Lily's delighted squeal, and they both realized the girl had been listening at the window. She burst through the door and threw herself at them, wrapping her arms around both their legs. "You're staying. You're really staying." Annabelle laughed, despite herself, despite everything, and felt something in her chest crack open. Not breaking, blooming, like ice giving way to spring. "I'm staying," she confirmed, looking down at this fierce, damaged, beautiful child. Then up at Garrett, who was watching her like she'd hung the moon. "We're all staying." They spent 3 days at the Madsen farm while Garrett recovered, and the legal proceedings began. Ingrid fussed over them like a mother hen, and Henrik's sons taught Lily how to play cards and carve wood. For the first time in years, the house rang with laughter. On the third night, Garrett found Annabelle sitting on the porch alone, wrapped in a borrowed shawl, watching stars emerge in the clear winter sky. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too much thinking." She made room for him on the bench, trying to figure out what happens next. "We go home, rebuild, move forward. It's not that simple." "Why not?" She turned to face him. "Because I don't know how to be what you need. I don't know how to be a wife or a mother or any of it. All I know is war and loss and survival." "Then we'll learn together." He shifted closer. "Annabelle, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be present, to stay even when it's hard, to choose us every day. What if some days I can't? Then we'll get through those days and find better ones." His hand found hers in the darkness. That's what families do. They endure. She leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling the solid warmth of him, the steady rise and fall of his breathing. This man who'd lived through his own hell and somehow still had room for hope. "I spent so long thinking I had to be whole to be worthy," she said quietly. "But maybe wholeness isn't about being unbroken. Maybe it's about accepting the cracks and loving anyway." "Maybe," he agreed. "Or maybe we're overthinking this." He pulled back to look at her. "You saved my life. You gave my daughter her voice back. You fit into our broken places like you were meant to be there. That's enough for me." "Is it?" Instead of answering, he kissed her. Gentle, tentative, asking permission even as he gave it. Annabelle's eyes closed, and she let herself fall into the moment, into the warmth and the tenderness and the terrifying possibility of happiness. When they pulled apart, she was crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't know why." "It's all right." He brushed tears from her cheeks. "Let it out. You've been holding everything in for too long." So she did. She cried for the boys who died in her field hospital, for her brothers scattered to the winds, for the years she'd spent believing she was too damaged to deserve love, and finally for the woman she'd been when she stepped off that stagecoach desperate and alone and terrified who no longer existed. Garrett held her through it all, saying nothing, just present. Just there. When her tears finally slowed, she felt emptied out but lighter. Clean. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For seeing me. Not the broken parts or the strong parts. Just me." He kissed her forehead. "That's the only version I ever wanted." They sat together until the cold drove them inside, where Lily was curled up in front of the fire, supposedly asleep but clearly waiting for them. Her eyes opened when they entered. "Are you married yet?" she asked hopefully. Garrett laughed. "Not yet, baby girl. These things take time." "How much time?" "However much we need." He scooped her up despite his injured arm. "But when we do get married, you'll be right there with us. Does that sound good?" Lily's smile could have lit the whole territory. "Can I wear Mama's dress?" Annabelle's heart clenched. "Are you sure that dress is special?" "Mama would want me to. She always said happy things should be shared, not hidden away." Lily looked between them. "And this is happy, right?" "Yeah, sweetheart," Garrett said softly. "This is happy." They returned to the ranch a week later, after James was formally charged and the legal details were settled. The house felt different now, lighter despite the memories. Annabelle helped Garrett clean out Sarah's room properly, packing away the things that hurt and keeping the things that healed. "She'd like you," Garrett said, folding a shawl carefully. "Sarah, I mean. She always said I needed someone who wouldn't put up with my nonsense." "Did she have a lot of nonsense to put up with?" "More than my share." He smiled, but it was sad. "I wasn't a good husband. Drank too much, worked too hard, didn't talk enough. She deserved better." "You were grieving long before she died, weren't you?" Annabelle watched him closely. "The war took something from you, too." He nodded slowly. "I came back different. Saw things I can't unsee. Lost friends who were closer than brothers. And I didn't know how to live with it, so I drank. Pushed her away. Let my brother in when I should have. He stopped swallowing hard. I failed her. But you're not failing now. You're learning. Growing. That's all any of us can do. They worked in silence for a while, sorting through the physical remnants of a life cut short. When they finished, the room was no longer a shrine. It was just a room ready for whatever came next. That night, Annabelle found Lily in the kitchen, laboriously copying letters onto a slate. Her tongue poked out in concentration, small fingers gripping the chalk too tight. "What are you working on?" Annabelle asked. "Writing Mama a letter." Lily didn't look up. Mrs. Madsen said sometimes it helps to write things down even if you can't send them. Annabelle sat beside her. "What are you telling her?" "That I'm sorry I couldn't save her. And that I'm not sad anymore. Not all the time anyway." She finished a word and blew on the slate. "And that you're here now and Papa smiles again and everything's going to be all right." "Oh, sweetheart." Annabelle pulled her close. "Your mama knows. Wherever she is, she knows and she's glad." "You think so?" "I'm certain." She kissed the top of Lily's head. "Because if I were her, if I had to leave you behind, I'd want nothing more than for someone good to find you and love you the way you deserve." Lily twisted to look up at her. "Do you love me?" The question was so direct, so vulnerable, that Annabelle's throat closed, but she forced herself to answer honestly. "Yes, I love you completely. Even though I'm not really yours. Especially because you're not really mine. You chose me, Lily. Out of everyone in the world, you chose me. That makes you more mine than blood ever could." Lily buried her face in Annabelle's shoulder and cried not the desperate, wrenching sobs from before, but soft, healing tears that spoke of relief and release. When Garrett found them later, curled together on the bench, with the slate abandoned on the floor, he didn't interrupt. Just covered them both with a quilt and sat nearby, keeping watch while his two girls slept. And for the first time since Sarah died, the house felt like a home. Spring came late to Montana that year, but when it finally arrived, it arrived with force. The snow melted in great rushing torrents, filling the creeks and turning the roads to mud. Green pushed through the brown earth like a promise kept, and the air smelled of wet soil and new beginnings. Annabelle stood in what was now her garden, hands deep in dirt, planting seeds she'd ordered from a catalog in Helena. Carrots, beans, lettuce, tomatoes. Practical things. Things that would feed them through the next winter. "You're doing it wrong," Lily said from her perch on the fence rail. "Am I now?" Annabelle sat back on her heels, pushing hair from her face with a muddy hand. "And what makes you the expert?" "Mama always said to plant beans on the north side so they don't shade the tomatoes. You've got them backwards." Annabelle looked at the furrows she'd just dug and sighed. "Your mama was a smarter woman than me. She had more practice. You'll learn." Lily hopped down and came to kneel beside her. "I'll help. Mama taught me before." They worked together in companionable silence, switching the seed rows, patting down earth, marking each line with small wooden stakes. The sun was warm on their backs, and somewhere nearby, a meadowlark sang. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said after a while. "Always." "When are you and Papa getting married?" Annabelle's hands stilled. It had been 3 months since James's trial. 3 months of living together as an awkward, not quite family. Garrett slept in his room, Annabelle in Sarah's old room, and Lily between them. They shared meals and work, and Lily's bedtime stories, but they hadn't talked about making it official. "I don't know, sweetheart. Your papa hasn't asked." "That's because he's scared." "Scared of what?" Lily pressed seeds into the soil with careful fingers. "That you'll say no. That you're only staying because you feel like you have to. That one day you'll wake up and realize you made a mistake." Annabelle's chest tightened. "He told you that?" "I hear things. He talks to himself sometimes when he's in the barn. Thinks nobody's listening." She looked up with those two old eyes. But I listen to everything now. I missed too much when I wasn't talking. What else does he say? That he doesn't deserve you. That he's going to mess it up somehow. That he should let you go before he ruins your life like he ruined Mama's. Lily's voice was matter-of-fact, but her eyes were fierce. Which is stupid, because Mama's death wasn't his fault, and you're not going anywhere, and he's being ridiculous. Despite everything, Annabelle laughed. You sound very certain. I am certain. You love us. I can tell. She returned to planting. You just need to tell him so he stops being stupid about it. It's not that simple, Lily. Why not? Because I'm still broken, Annabelle thought. Because every morning I wake up and remember, I can't give him sons to work. This ranch can't give you brothers and sisters, can't be the whole woman he deserves. Because I'm terrified that one day he'll look at me and see everything I'm not, instead of what I am. But she couldn't say any of that to a child. Because sometimes people need time, she said instead, to heal, to be sure, to figure out what they really want. I know what I want. Lily wiped her dirty hands on her apron. I want you to be my mama for real. Not just pretend. I want us to be a family with papers and everything so nobody can say you don't belong here. Oh, sweetheart. Annabelle pulled her close, leaving mud prints on them both. I already belong here. Papers or not, I belong. Then prove it. Marry Papa. Before Annabelle could answer, Garrett's voice called from the barn. Lily, come help me with these harnesses. The girl ran off, leaving Annabelle alone with her thoughts and her half-planted garden. She looked down at the seeds in her palm, tiny and vulnerable, holding entire futures inside their fragile shells. Like all of them, really. Trying to grow in hostile soil, hoping for enough sun and water to survive. She pressed them into the earth and covered them gently, whispering a prayer she didn't quite believe. Let them grow. Let us all grow. That night, after Lily was asleep, Garrett found Annabelle on the porch again, her thinking spot he'd learned. She sat wrapped in a shawl despite the mild evening, staring at stars scattered like thrown seed across black soil. Lily says I'm being stupid, he said without preamble. Annabelle smiled. She has opinions. She gets that from her mother. He sat beside her close, but not touching. She also says, I need to stop acting like you're going to disappear any day now. Are you acting like that? Maybe. He rubbed his jaw. Probably. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to realize what you signed up for and run screaming. I didn't sign up for anything. I got sent to the wrong ranch, remember? Exactly. This whole thing was a mistake from the start. You were supposed to marry some farmer named Carter, not get tangled up with a widower and his traumatized kid and a murder trial. He looked at her finally. I keep thinking any day now, you're going to wake up and want the life you planned. Not this one. Annabelle turned to face him fully. You want to know what life I planned? I planned to marry a stranger and keep house for him and be grateful he was willing to take damaged goods. I planned to hide who I really was and pretend the war didn't happen and swallow every feeling that wasn't convenient. Her voice shook slightly. That was my plan, Garrett, and I'm so damn grateful I ended up here instead. He blinked. You are? Yes, because here I don't have to hide. Here I get to be angry and scared and broken and real, and nobody tells me to smile more or try harder or get over it already. She grabbed his hand. Here I get to matter. Not because I'm useful or convenient, but because I'm me. You've always mattered. Not like this. Not in a way that feels true. She squeezed his fingers. So stop waiting for me to leave because I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying, Garrett. I'm staying and I'm planting gardens and I'm raising your daughter and I'm building a life here whether you marry me or not. His breath caught. Whether I wait, are you proposing to me? I'm telling you how it is. The rest is up to you. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he started laughing deep, genuine laughter that shook his shoulders and brought tears to his eyes. What's funny? Annabelle demanded. You are. Showing up at the wrong ranch in a blizzard, saving my daughter's voice, shooting my brother, and now proposing marriage like you're discussing the weather." He wiped his eyes. "God, I love you." The words hung between them, raw and real. "Say that again," Annabelle whispered. "I love you." He cupped her face in his hands. "I love your stubbornness, and your strength, and the way you hold Lily when she has nightmares. I love that you burned the biscuits twice before you figured it out. I love that you planted the garden wrong and didn't care. I love everything about you, even the parts you think are broken. I can't give you children. You gave me back my daughter. That's more than enough. I have nightmares, bad ones, about the war. So do I. We'll wake each other up. I don't know how to be a wife. I don't know how to be a husband. Not a good one anyway. We'll figure it out together." He leaned his forehead against hers. "Marry me, Annabelle. For real. Not because you have nowhere else to go, but because you want to be here. With us." She kissed him instead of answering, pouring 4 months of fear and hope and love into it. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." From inside the house came Lily's delighted shriek. She'd been listening again, and they both laughed. "We're never going to have privacy with that child around," Garrett said. "Good." Annabelle stood and pulled him to his feet. "Let's go tell her properly." They found Lily dancing around her room in her nightgown, grinning like she'd won the lottery. "When's the wedding? Can I invite everyone? Can we have cake? Real cake with frosting?" The words tumbled out in a rush. "Slow down," Garrett said, scooping her up. "We haven't planned anything yet. Can we do it soon? Please, before summer." Annabelle and Garrett exchanged glances. "Why before summer?" Annabelle asked. Lily's face grew serious. "Because I want Mama to see. I know she's not really here, but Mrs. Madsen says spring is when the veil is thinnest between worlds. If we do it soon, maybe Mama will know we're happy again." Garrett's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, baby girl. Please, Papa. I think she's been waiting to know we'll be all right without her." He looked at Annabelle over Lily's head, and she nodded. "All right," he said. "We'll do it soon. Next month, maybe, as soon as we can arrange it properly." Lily squeezed them both. "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." They put her to bed together, both sitting on the edge of her mattress, taking turns reading from a worn book of fairy tales. Halfway through, Lily's eyes drifted closed, and her breathing evened out. "She's asleep," Annabelle whispered. But Garrett shook his head. "No, she's not. She's just pretending, so we'll keep sitting here." One of Lily's eyes cracked open. "How'd you know?" "Because I'm your papa. I know all your tricks." He kissed her forehead. "Now sleep for real. Morning comes early." This time she actually did drift off, one small hand wrapped around Annabelle's finger. "She's going to be insufferable until the wedding," Garrett murmured. "You know that, right?" "I'm counting on it." Annabelle stroked the girl's hair. "She deserves to be excited about something good for once." They sat together in the lamplight, watching Lily sleep, and Annabelle thought about all the paths that had led her here. The war that broke her. The agency that sent her to the wrong place. The storm that trapped her. The child who spoke after years of silence. Every wrong turn had somehow become right. "What are you thinking?" Garrett asked softly. "That I don't believe in God much anymore. Not after what I saw in the war." She looked up at him. "But I'm starting to think maybe there's something else. Some force that guides broken people toward each other so they can heal together. Like divine intervention. Like grace." She smiled. "The kind you don't earn. The kind that finds you anyway." He kissed her temple. "Grace looks good on you." They stayed until the lamp burned low and their legs went numb. Then Garrett walked Annabelle to her door like a proper gentleman, even though they were already living under the same roof. "Soon we won't have separate rooms," he said, lingering at her threshold. "Are you trying to scandalize me, Mr. Bishop?" "Just stating facts, Miss Hartley." His eyes were warm. "Sleep well." "You too." But neither of them slept much that night, both lying awake in their separate beds, thinking about the future they were building, one careful choice at a time. The next morning, Annabelle woke to voices in the kitchen. Women's voices. She dressed quickly and emerged to find Ingrid Madsen and two other ranch wives sitting at her table drinking coffee and talking with Garrett like they owned the place. "There she is," Ingrid boomed. "The bride, come sit. We have plans to make." "Plans?" Annabelle looked at Garrett, who shrugged helplessly. "Lily rode to our place at dawn to announce the engagement," said Martha Green, a thin woman with kind eyes. "Woke up the whole household. Ingrid sent her sons to spread the word, and now half the territory knows." "That child has no sense of propriety," the third woman said, but she was smiling. "I'm Dorothy Pike. We haven't met properly, but I've heard all about you. You're the one who shot James Bishop." "In self-defense," Annabelle said quickly. "Best thing anyone ever did for this territory. Man was a blight." Dorothy pulled out a chair. "Now sit. We need to talk about your dress." "I don't need—" "Every bride needs a dress," Ingrid said firmly. "You will not marry in your day clothes like some desperate widow. We will make you beautiful." "I have Sarah's dresses," Annabelle said hesitantly. "Maybe I could alter one of those." The room went quiet. Martha and Dorothy exchanged glances. "You're sure?" Martha asked gently. "That's a big step, wearing a dead woman's clothes to marry her husband." "Sarah was his first love. I can't erase that. Don't want to." Annabelle looked at Garrett, who was watching her with something like wonder. "But she's gone and I'm here. Maybe wearing her dress is a way of honoring that. Of saying we're all family, past, present, and future." Ingrid's eyes were suspiciously bright. "You are a good woman, Annabelle Hartley. Sarah would approve." She stood decisively. "All right then. Let us see these dresses." They trooped into Sarah's old room and Annabelle opened the wardrobe. The women examined each dress carefully, feeling fabric, checking seams, discussing alterations. "This one," Dorothy said, finally holding up a cream-colored dress with delicate lace at the collar and cuffs. "Simple, elegant, and it will alter nicely to fit you." "It's beautiful," Annabelle breathed. "Sarah wore it to her own wedding," Garrett said from the doorway. They all turned. "She said she wanted something she could wear again, not some fancy thing that would sit in a trunk forever. She wore it to church every Easter after." "Then it's perfect." Martha took the dress gently. "We'll let it out in the bodice, take it in at the waist, and add fresh lace. You'll be stunning." The women swept Annabelle up in a flurry of planning. Flowers. Wildflowers. Dorothy insisted much prettier than hothouse roses. Food, everyone would bring something potluck style. Location, the church in town was too small and too formal. They'd do it at the ranch outside if the weather held. Music. Henrik's youngest son played fiddle, and Martha's daughter had a voice like an angel. "Wait," Annabelle said, overwhelmed. "This is too much. We can't ask everyone to—" "You're not asking, we're telling." Ingrid patted her hand. "This territory needs more reasons to celebrate, and weddings are the best kind. Let us do this. Let us give you a proper start." Annabelle looked around at these women she barely knew, who'd taken her into their fold without question, and felt tears sting her eyes. "Thank you." "Thank us by being happy," Martha said. "That's all we ask." They left in a whirlwind, taking the dress with them, and leaving behind a list of tasks that made Annabelle's head spin. Garrett found her sitting at the table, staring at the list in bewilderment. "Feeling ambushed?" he asked. "Completely." She looked up. "Do we really need 3 kinds of pie?" Ingrid believes anything worth doing is worth overdoing. He sat beside her. "We can scale it back if you want. Keep it simple." "No." She folded the list carefully. This is good. This is community. I never had this before, people who cared enough to make a fuss. She smiled. Let them make their pies, all 3 kinds. Lily burst through the door, muddy and triumphant. I told everyone, the Johnsons, the Crawfords, the Mackenzies, everyone. They're all coming to the wedding. How many is everyone? Garrett asked warily. Maybe 50, 60. She grinned. I might have gotten excited. Garrett groaned. 60 people. At least they'll bring food, Annabelle said. According to Ingrid's list, we need to provide nothing except the bride, the groom, and the space. And the cake, Lily added. Mrs. Pike said she's making a 4-layer cake with real sugar frosting. She's been saving sugar since Christmas, just in case someone got married. Well, we can't disappoint Mrs. Pike, Garrett said. Guess we're having a 4-layer cake. They spent the next few weeks preparing. Garrett and the Madsen boys built long tables and benches for the outdoor celebration. Annabelle and Lily cleaned the house from top to bottom, scrubbing floors and washing windows until everything gleamed. The women came weekly to fit the dress, bringing gossip and advice in equal measure. Don't let him boss you around, Dorothy counseled during one fitting. Men need to know who's in charge from the start. Don't fight over money, Martha added. Agree on a household budget and stick to it. And for heaven's sake, don't go to bed angry, Ingrid said. Kiss and make up before you sleep, or the anger festers like an infected wound. Annabelle absorbed it all, grateful and terrified in equal measure. These women had made marriages work on the harsh frontier. If they could do it, maybe she could too. The day before the wedding, Lily found Annabelle standing in the room that had been Sarah's, holding the photograph from the mantel. Are you scared? The girl asked. Terrified, Annabelle admitted. What if I can't live up to her? What if your papa compares us, and I'm lacking? Lily came to stand beside her, looking at her mother's face. Papa doesn't compare you. He says you're nothing alike, and that's good. Mama was soft and quiet. You're strong and loud. He needs strong and loud now. I'm not loud. You are when you're angry. I heard you yelling at the chickens yesterday when they got in the garden. Lily grinned. It was funny. Despite herself, Annabelle laughed. Those chickens are menaces. Mama couldn't yell at anything. She'd just shoo them gently, and they'd ignore her. Lily's smile faded. I miss her, but I'm glad you're different. It would hurt too much if you were the same. Annabelle set down the photograph and pulled Lily close. Your mama will always be your mama. I'm not trying to replace her. I know. You're my new mama. I can have both. She looked up. Is that okay? That's more than okay. That's perfect. They stood together looking at Sarah's face, and Annabelle sent up a silent prayer to a woman she'd never met. Thank you for making him kind, for raising this beautiful girl, for leaving enough love behind that we could build on it. I'll take care of them. I promise. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and bright, the sky so blue it hurt to look at. Annabelle woke early, too nervous to sleep, and found Garrett already up, dressed in his best suit, pacing the porch. You're going to wear a hole in those boards, she said. He turned and his face split into a smile. You're not supposed to see me before the ceremony. It's bad luck. I think we've had our share of bad luck already. I'm not worried. She joined him at the railing. Having second thoughts. Not even first thoughts. About 100 thoughts, but none of them are second ones. She leaned against him. I'm just scared I'll trip or say the wrong words or somehow mess it up. You won't. And even if you did, I wouldn't care. He kissed the top of her head. We're already married in every way that matters. Today's just making it official for everyone else. Still, I want it to be perfect. It will be, because you'll be there. They stood together watching the sun climb higher until Ingrid's wagon appeared on the horizon, followed by a dozen others. The invasion had begun. The women swept Annabelle away to Lily's room, where the altered dress waited. It fit perfectly, the cream fabric glowing in the morning light. Martha had added new lace that made it look fresh, not recycled. Dorothy braided Annabelle's hair with wildflowers woven through. Ingrid applied a touch of rose salve to her lips and cheeks. "You're beautiful," Lily whispered, wearing her own dress, the gray one they'd altered together with new ribbons at the waist. "Papa's going to cry." "Your papa doesn't cry." "He cried when I spoke the first time. And when you shot Uncle James. He'll definitely cry when he sees you in Mama's dress." She was right. When Annabelle stepped out onto the porch where the ceremony would take place, Garrett's eyes filled with tears. He didn't try to hide them, just let them fall while he stared at her like she was a miracle. The preacher, an itinerant minister who traveled the territory, cleared his throat. "Shall we begin?" 60 people crowded into the yard, sitting on benches and blankets, fanning themselves in the warm spring air. Children ran between the adults, and somewhere a baby cried. It was chaotic and imperfect and exactly right. Annabelle walked to Garrett's side, no one giving her away, because she'd given herself, and took his hands. The ceremony was simple. The preacher talked about covenant and commitment, about building lives on faith rather than feelings. He asked them to speak their vows. Garrett went first, voice rough with emotion. "Annabelle, I promise to honor you as yourself, not as anyone else. I promise to listen when you speak, and hear what you don't say. I promise to build a life with you where you're free to be exactly who you are, strong and stubborn and beautiful and real. I promise to love you every day, even the hard ones, especially the hard ones." Annabelle's turn. Her voice shook but held. "Garrett, I promise to stay. Not because I have nowhere else to go, but because there's nowhere else I want to be. I promise to love your daughter as my own. I promise to be honest even when it's uncomfortable. I promise to build this life with you one day at a time, one choice at a time, for as long as we both live." The preacher smiled. "By the authority vested in me by the territory of Montana, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Garrett pulled her close and kissed her, while 60 people cheered, and Lily squealed, and somewhere in the back Henrik Madsen yelled, "Finally!" When they broke apart, Garrett was crying openly, and Annabelle realized she was too. "We did it," he whispered. "We did." Lily launched herself at them, wrapping her arms around both their legs. "You're married. You're really married. Now nobody can say, 'Annabelle doesn't belong here.'" They held her between them while the celebration erupted around them. Fiddle music and laughter, the smell of roasting meat and fresh bread. Children playing tag while their parents toasted the new couple. It wasn't fancy. The food was simple, the decorations homemade. But it was theirs, this patchwork family and community they'd built from broken pieces. As the sun set and the dancing began, Annabelle found herself spinning in Garrett's arms while Lily danced with Henrik's youngest son, all of them dizzy with joy and exhaustion. "Thank you," Garrett said into her ear. "For what?" "For coming to the wrong ranch." He smiled. "Best mistake that ever happened." She laughed and held him tighter, and thought about seeds planted in hostile soil, somehow finding enough light and water to grow. Thought about grace, the unearned kind that finds broken people and makes them whole. Thought about home, and how sometimes you don't find it, sometimes it finds you. The guests began leaving as the moon climbed higher, calling out blessings and well-wishes as their wagons rolled away. Ingrid was the last to go, pulling Annabelle into a crushing hug and whispering in her ear, "Be patient with each other. Marriage is not one big choice. It is 1,000 small ones." Then they were alone. Garrett, Annabelle, and Lily standing in the lamplight, surrounded by the remnants of celebration. Empty plates and wilting flowers, the smell of wood smoke and happiness. "I don't want to go to bed," Lily announced. "I want this day to last forever." "All good days end, baby girl," Garrett said. "But there'll be more. That's the promise of tomorrow. Will you stay with me until I fall asleep? Both of you." They looked at each other and nodded. Annabelle took Lily's hand and led her inside, Garrett following behind. They got her into her nightgown and tucked her in, sitting on either side of the bed like bookends. "Tell me a story," Lily said, "about how you met." "You were there," Annabelle laughed. "You know how we met. But I want to hear you tell it, like it's a fairy tale." Garrett cleared his throat. "Once upon a time, on the coldest night of winter, a woman knocked on a stranger's door. She was lost and alone, sent to the wrong place by mistake. The man who answered was broken, and his daughter had forgotten how to speak. They should have sent her away, but they didn't. Because I knew," Lily interrupted. "I knew God sent her." "You did know," Annabelle agreed. "You spoke for the first time in years, and you said she was meant to be there." "And then what happened?" Lily asked, even though she knew. "Then everything got complicated," Garrett said. "There was danger and secrets and fear, but through it all these three broken people held on to each other, and somehow holding on was enough. And they lived happily ever after." Lily's eyes were already drifting closed. "They're working on it," Annabelle said softly. "Every single day they're working on it." Lily's breathing evened out. They sat for a few more minutes watching her sleep, neither wanting to be the first to leave. Finally, Garrett stood and offered his hand to Annabelle. She took it, and he led her down the hallway, past her old room, past his room, to the door at the end. Sarah's room. Their room now. "I moved your things in this afternoon," he said, "while you were getting ready. Hope that's all right." More than all right. But her heart was hammering. This was real now. This was marriage with all its vulnerability and intimacy and terrifying permanence. He must have sensed her fear because he squeezed her hand. "We don't have to. I mean, we can take our time. There's no rush. I'm not afraid of you." She turned to face him. "I'm afraid of disappointing you." "That's not possible. You don't know that. I don't know how to. I've never." She stopped, frustrated with herself. "The war took a lot from me, Garrett. Not just my ability to have children. It took parts of me I can't even name. What if there's not enough left?" He cupped her face in his hands. "Then we'll make do with what's there. And I'll tell you a secret, I'm missing parts too. We all are. That's what living does to people. It breaks off pieces." "But you loved Sarah completely. She got the whole version of you." "No. She got the version I was then. Young and stupid and full of myself." His thumbs traced her cheekbones. "You get the version I am now. Older, sadder, but maybe a little wiser. Maybe that's better. Maybe we're better because we know how quickly everything can disappear." She kissed him, then pouring 4 months of longing into it. His arms came around her solid and sure, and when he lifted her and carried her inside, closing the door behind them, she wasn't afraid anymore. They loved each other slowly, carefully learning the landscape of scars and tender places. When it was over, they lay tangled together, listening to the house settle around them. "I love you," she whispered into the darkness. "I know." He kissed her forehead. "I've known since you shot James. Maybe even before that. That's a strange moment to fall in love. You saved my life. Hard not to love someone after that." He was quiet for a moment. "Sarah never would have shot anyone. She was too gentle. When danger came, she'd freeze. I used to worry about leaving her alone, about what would happen if someone threatened her or Lily. And now I know if I die tomorrow, you'll protect our daughter with everything you have. That's a gift, Annabelle, knowing she'll be safe. Our daughter." The words settled into her chest, warm and permanent. "I'll protect you both," she promised. "Always." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other. And when morning came, Annabelle woke to find Garrett already up, standing at the window in his undershirt and trousers, watching the sunrise. "Come back to bed," she murmured. "Can't. Got work to do." But he smiled when he said it. "Cows don't care that I got married yesterday." Inconsiderate cows. He laughed and came to kiss her. "Stay here. Sleep more. I'll make breakfast when I'm done with the feeding." "I should help." "You should rest." Let me take care of you for once." She watched him dress and leave, heard him moving around the kitchen talking softly to Lily, who must have woken early too. Their voices drifted down the hall, her new family going about their morning routine. She got up and dressed, braided her hair and joined them. Garrett raised an eyebrow when she appeared. "Thought you were resting." "Can't. Too much to do." She took the spatula from his hand. "Besides, I'm not good at being taken care of. I'm better at doing." "Stubborn woman. You married me anyway. Best decision I ever made." He kissed her cheek and headed out to the barn, calling over his shoulder, "Don't burn the eggs." Lily giggled. "He's happy. I've never seen him this happy." "I've never seen me this happy either," Annabelle admitted, cracking eggs into the pan. "It's strange. Like wearing new shoes. They fit, but they feel unfamiliar. You'll get used to it, and then it'll just feel normal, like you were always here." But Annabelle wasn't sure she wanted it to feel normal. Normal meant taking it for granted. She wanted to remember this feeling, the gratitude, the wonder, the sense of having been given something she didn't deserve, but would fight to keep. The days fell into a rhythm after that. Work and meals and bedtime stories. Garrett teaching Annabelle to ride better, her teaching Lily to read more challenging books. Slow dances in the kitchen when they thought no one was watching. Quick kisses stolen between chores. The ordinary magic of chosen family. But 6 weeks after the wedding, Annabelle woke before dawn, stumbled outside, and vomited into the bushes. She stood there shaking, wiping her mouth, trying to remember what she'd eaten. Nothing unusual. Nothing that should have made her sick. It happened again the next morning. And the next. Lily noticed first. "Are you all right? You look green." "Just tired." But Annabelle's mind was racing, doing calculations she didn't want to do. It wasn't possible. The doctors had been clear. Damage too severe. Never have children. On the 4th morning, Garrett found her hunched over the basin, retching. "How long has this been happening?" he asked quietly. "Few days." "Could you be—" "No." She said it too quickly, too sharply. "It's not possible. They told me it wasn't possible." Doctors have been wrong before. Not about this. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. Her monthly bleeding was late. Her breasts were tender. She'd been tired, emotional, craving strange foods. "We need to see someone," Garrett said. "Doc Henderson in Fort Morgan. He'll know." "I'm not pregnant," she insisted. "I can't be. It's probably just a stomach ailment. Something I ate." But she let him convince her to go anyway. Let him harness the wagon and drive her to town. Lily chattering excitedly in the back about all the things they could buy at the general store. Dr. Henderson was a gray-haired man with gentle hands and kind eyes. He examined Annabelle thoroughly, asked questions, made notes. Finally, he sat back and folded his hands. "Mrs. Bishop, I believe you're about 8 weeks pregnant." The room spun. "That's not possible." "I assure you it is. I can feel the changes in your womb, and all your symptoms point to— You don't understand." Annabelle's voice cracked. "I was told I could never conceive. The damage from my war injury was too severe. Multiple doctors confirmed it." "What exactly were you told?" She explained the explosion, the internal bleeding, the infection that followed the surgeon's grim pronouncement that her womb was too scarred to carry a child. Henderson listened carefully, then nodded. "That surgeon was probably right at the time, but the body heals in unexpected ways, Mrs. Bishop. Scar tissue can soften. Damaged organs can regenerate. It's rare, but it happens." He smiled gently. "I'd say you're living proof. But I could lose it." Fear gripped her throat. "If the damage is still there, if my body can't—" "You could. Pregnancy is always a risk, especially given your history." He met her eyes. "But you could also carry this child to term and deliver a healthy baby. There's no way to know except to wait and see." Annabelle walked out of his office in a daze. Garrett caught her when she stumbled, his strong hands steadying her. "What did he say?" She couldn't speak, just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Annabelle, you're scaring me. What?" I'm pregnant. The words came out in a whisper. I'm pregnant, Garrett. It shouldn't be possible, but it is. He went very still. You're sure? The doctor's sure. He said my body healed somehow. That it's rare, but not impossible. She looked up at him. I'm pregnant. Garrett let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob and pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. Oh God, Annabelle. I'm scared. She clung to him. What if I lose it? What if my body can't? Then we'll grieve together. But if you don't lose it, if this child makes it. He pulled back to look at her. We'll have a baby. Our baby. Are you happy? She searched his face. I know you said Lily was enough, but I'm terrified and amazed and so damn happy I can barely think straight. He kissed her hard. You're giving me something I never thought I'd have again. A future that doesn't just survive, but grows. They told Lily in the wagon on the way home. The girl's face lit up like the sun. A baby. A real baby. I'm going to be a big sister. Maybe, Annabelle cautioned. It's still early. Sometimes babies don't stay. This one will. Lily's confidence was absolute. God sent you here to be my mama. Now he's sending a baby too. It's all part of the plan. You sound very sure. I am sure. I prayed for a brother or sister every night for 2 years. Mama said it probably wouldn't happen, but I kept praying anyway. She grinned. Guess God was just waiting for the right mama. Annabelle started crying again. Happy tears this time, and Lily crawled over the seat to hug her, while Garrett drove them home. His hand never leaving Annabelle's knee. The pregnancy was not easy. Annabelle was sick constantly, could barely keep food down for weeks. Her body ached in strange places, and she was so tired she could barely function. But every morning she woke up still pregnant, and that was enough. Garrett hovered like a nervous hen, refusing to let her do heavy work, constantly asking if she needed to rest. Lily appointed herself official baby guardian, reading to Annabelle's growing belly and singing the songs her mother had sung to her. Do you think it's a boy or girl? Lily asked one evening, her head resting on Annabelle's stomach. No way to know until it comes. I think it's a girl. Girls run in our family. She looked up. What should we name her? We haven't talked about names yet. Can I help pick? Annabelle glanced at Garrett, who nodded. Of course you can. You're the big sister. That's an important job. Lily took her responsibility seriously, making lists of names and reading them aloud at dinner. Some were beautiful Rose Grace Catherine. Some were ridiculous Princess Buttercup Starlight Thunderhooves. We're not naming the baby Thunderhooves, Garrett said firmly. But it sounds strong. It sounds like a horse. Horses are strong. They laughed more in those months than Annabelle had laughed in years. Despite the sickness and fear, despite knowing every day could be the day she lost the baby, there was joy. Fierce, defiant joy that refused to be dimmed. At 5 months, Annabelle felt the first flutter of movement. She was kneading bread dough when it happened. A sensation like butterfly wings against the inside of her womb. She froze, hands covered in flour, barely breathing. There it was again. Stronger this time. Garrett! Her voice came out strangled. Garrett, come here! He ran in from the barn, still holding a hammer. What's wrong? Is it? The baby's moving. She grabbed his hand and pressed it to her belly. Right there. Do you feel it? They stood still, waiting. Then there. A tiny kick against his palm. Garrett's face transformed. I felt it. I felt our baby. Our baby. She said it like a prayer, like a promise, like the miracle it was. The pregnancy continued. 6 months became 7. 7 became 8. Annabelle's belly grew round and tight. She moved slower, slept worse, complained constantly, and she had never been happier. At 8.5 months on a warm September evening, her water broke while she was peeling potatoes for dinner. "Garrett?" Her voice was calm, but her hands shook. "It's time." He went pale. "Now. But you're not due for 2 more weeks." Babies don't care about schedules. She gripped the counter as the first contraction hit. "Get Ingrid. And the doctor. Now." The next hours were a blur of pain and pressure, and Ingrid's steady voice coaching her through. Garrett held her hand while she screamed, his face wet with tears. Lily waited outside with Henrik pacing like a caged animal. "I can't do this." Annabelle gasped between contractions. "It's too much. I can't." "Yes, you can." Ingrid wiped her forehead with a cool cloth. "You survived a war. You can survive this." "The war was easier." "All women say that." Ingrid smiled. "But you're strong. Now push." She pushed and pushed and pushed until she thought she'd split in two, until she couldn't remember what it felt like to not be in pain, until she was sure she was dying. Then a cry, high and angry and impossibly alive. "It's a girl," Doc Henderson announced, holding up a tiny, squirming, red-faced creature. "A healthy girl." Annabelle collapsed back against the pillows, sobbing with relief and exhaustion. Garrett was crying too, kissing her face, her hands, her hair. "You did it," he whispered. "Oh God, Annabelle, you did it." The doctor cleaned the baby and wrapped her in a blanket, then placed her in Annabelle's arms. She was perfect, 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, a shock of dark hair eyes that would probably turn the same gray as her father's. "Hello, little one," Annabelle breathed. "Hello, my impossible girl." "Can I come in?" Lily's voice came from outside. "Please, I want to meet her." Garrett opened the door and Lily crept in, eyes huge. She approached the bed slowly, reverently, like approaching an altar. "She's so small," Lily whispered. "You were this small once," Garrett said, lifting her onto the bed beside Annabelle. "Want to hold her?" Lily nodded, and Annabelle carefully transferred the baby into her arms. The girl held her new sister with fierce concentration, supporting the head like Ingrid had taught her. "Hi, baby," Lily murmured. "I'm your big sister. I've been waiting for you for so long." She looked up at Annabelle with shining eyes. "What's her name?" Annabelle looked at Garrett and he nodded. They'd discussed this privately late at night when Lily was asleep. "Sarah Grace," Annabelle said softly. "After 2 strong women. One who left behind more love than she knew, and one who taught us how to receive it." Lily's face crumpled. "You named her after Mama. And after you. Grace for the grace you showed us choosing to love again after so much loss." "Lily Grace was Mama's full name," Garrett added. "Our daughter carries both of you, past and present, all of us together." Lily cried into the baby's blanket, careful not to wake her while Annabelle stroked her hair and Garrett held them all. "We're a family," Lily whispered. "A real family." "We always were," Annabelle said. "From the moment you spoke, from the moment you chose us. But yes, now we're complete." The weeks that followed were exhausting and beautiful. Sarah Grace was a good baby as babies went, but she still needed constant care. Annabelle was sore and tired, learning to nurse, learning to function on no sleep. But every time she looked at her daughter, her impossible, miraculous daughter gratitude overwhelmed everything else. Lily was a devoted big sister, always wanting to hold the baby, sing to her help with changing and bathing. She'd sit for hours, just watching Sarah sleep, marveling at her tiny perfections. "She has your nose," Lily announced one afternoon. "She has her father's nose," Annabelle corrected. "No, yours. See? It turns up at the end." She traced the baby's face gently. "And she has my chin. Well, Mama's chin. But I have Mama's chin, so it's mine too. She's a little bit of all of us." Garrett said, coming in from the barn and dropping a kiss on top of Lily's head, then Annabelle's, then the baby's. That's what families do. Mix together until you can't tell where one person ends and another begins. Winter came again, the year turning full circle. On a cold December evening, exactly 1 year after Annabelle first knocked on their door, they sat together in the front room. Garrett in his chair reading, Lily on the floor playing with her wooden animals. Annabelle in the rocking chair nursing Sarah Grace, while the fire crackled and snow fell outside. "Do you ever think about it?" Lily asked suddenly. "About how you came to the wrong ranch?" "All the time," Annabelle said. "Do you wish you'd gone to the right one instead?" Annabelle looked around at her life, at this room that had once been a shrine and was now a home, at this man who'd learned to love again, at this girl who'd found her voice, at this baby who shouldn't exist, but did. "No," she said firmly. "I don't wish that at all." "Why not? You could have married that Carter man, had a different life." "But I wouldn't have had you, or your papa, or Sarah Grace." She smiled. "Wrong isn't always bad, sweetheart. Sometimes wrong is exactly where you need to be." Garrett looked up from his book, eyes soft. "Sometimes the best things come from mistakes." "I wasn't a mistake," Lily protested. "No, but us finding each other? That was a beautiful mistake, the kind worth making." Sarah Grace finished nursing and fell asleep, milk-drunk and content. Annabelle held her close, breathing in that sweet baby smell, and thought about all the paths that led here. The war that broke her, the agency that sent her wrong, the storm that trapped her, the child who spoke, the man who learned to hope again. Every wrong turn had been right in the end. "Read to us, Papa," Lily requested, abandoning her toys to climb onto his lap, even though she was getting too big for it. So Garrett read while Annabelle rocked, and the baby slept, and the fire kept them warm against the winter cold. His voice filled the room with stories of adventure and happy endings, and Annabelle thought how strange it was that their story had started with no happy ending in sight, just survival, just getting through one more day. But survival had become living. Living had become family, and family had become everything. When the story ended and Lily's eyes drooped closed, Garrett carried her to bed. Annabelle laid Sarah Grace in the cradle Garrett had built with his own hands, then followed him back to their room. Sarah's room, once theirs, now transformed by time and choice into something new. They lay together in the darkness, his arm around her, her head on his chest. "Do you ever miss the life you thought you'd have?" she asked quietly. "No. That life was already over before you came. Sarah was gone, Lily was silent, and I was drowning." He tightened his hold. "You didn't save me from my past. You gave me a reason to have a future." "We gave each other that," she corrected. "All of us. We saved each other." Maybe that's what family really is. Not people who don't need saving, but people willing to be saved together. She kissed his jaw. "I love you." "I love you too." He was quiet for a moment. "Thank you for coming to the wrong ranch. Thank you for letting me stay." They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other and gratitude, while their daughters slept safely down the hall and snow covered the world outside in fresh white possibility. And if sometimes in dreams, Annabelle heard a woman's voice whispering thank you on the wind, if sometimes she felt a presence gentle and approving, watching over them all, she chose to believe it was Sarah finally at peace, knowing her family was whole again. Not the same family, but a good one, a chosen one, a family built from broken pieces and wrong turns, and the stubborn refusal to give up on love. The kind of family worth every mistake it took to find.